Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Todd Coons. It is Monday. We are starting out another amazing week. Hope you guys are doing well. I have been crazy busy lately, and if you noticed, I didn't get any video done last week. I did a couple of shorts, but didn't have any time to make a video. I got enough balls in the air that it's just hard to juggle all of them, and I apologize I didn't have a video. But today I want to do a quick little video, kind of a review video. I want to talk about the Godox Lux Senior Flash. I don't know if you guys have heard about this thing. I got this just the other day. It is a retro looking flash that they did. They did a Lux Senior and a Lux Junior. This happens to be the Senior, and look how cool this thing is. From a vintage looking flash, this thing just looks cool. Watch this. Flips up. It's got the blades that come around. And it looks like one of those old school flashes. And then you push this little button over here and little bulb pops out. Super cool looking. Okay, so I just got this flash last week. I have only used it a little bit, but let me start by telling you why I got it in the first place. When I first saw it, number one, I just thought it looked really cool. And, you know, I've probably have talked about this before, but I shoot weddings occasionally with my Fuji X100V. When I first went into weddings with this camera, I thought people are going to think I'm crazy to go in with this little tiny camera. But I got so much positive response just based on how this thing looks like an old camera that I really kind of drew a crowd at weddings and people wanted to talk about it. And I thought this flash is going to have the same kind of appeal. Now, I haven't taken it to a wedding, so I don't know if that's going to be the case. But it's just cool, vintagey looking, and people seem to be drawn to that. I don't know why. But the other thing that got me interested in this flash, it's only $119. I thought for $119 I can't really lose. It's not like I'm investing hundreds if not thousands of dollars in gear. Now, it is kind of plasticky, but I will tell you, it does not feel cheap. It feels solid. Construction of it is nice. You're not going to get this flash out and think it's cheap and low quality. Now, the other reason that I was interested in this flash is because, like I said, using my X100V, one of the things I didn't like about shooting with this camera at a wedding or an event was because my flash, I was a Godox V1 user, I still have a couple of those, but when I put that flash on top of this camera, the flash was actually bigger and the whole thing was bulky and awkward. My hope was that this flash would be a little more appropriately sized for this smaller camera, and if you notice, it is. And this is the only camera that I've put this flash on to this point. This is the only camera that I've played with as far as the flash is concerned, and it is very appropriately sized. Now, one of the problems that I have with this particular camera and a flash is that it's difficult to see the shutter speed dial because of the flash. Now, I always thought it was because the V1 was so big and I couldn't see what shutter speed I was on very well. Well, with this flash, it's still difficult, and if you notice, look how close the shutter speed dial is to the hot shoe. I think it's a camera issue, not the flash issue. Now, with the few reviews that I do on this channel, once again, I don't want to get into the specs and all the numbers of this thing. I just want to talk about how this flash works as far as I can use it and what I do with it and my thoughts about that. One of the things that's important to know about this flash is it's not dedicated to a specific camera brand. So you don't buy one based on the brand camera you use. I didn't buy this one that it's the Godox Lux Senior for Fuji. You just get one that's good for any camera brand. It doesn't have TTL. It does not have the ability to speak to your camera and work simultaneously. Now, I read the manual, and it doesn't say the word thyristor, but in the old days, it used to have a sensor on the front of a flash that instead of being read through the lens, or TTL with the camera, the flash would go out and sync with a little sensor. And I believe there is one right here if I'm looking at how this is manufactured. So it does have automatic modes. You can put in an automatic and it'll send out the right amount of flash and turn itself off. But it's sensing it on its own. The neat thing for you film shooters out there, and I know you guys are out there, it comes with a little PC cord plugs into the side right here, and then that PC cord will go and plug into your film camera, and you can use it with a film camera as well as a digital camera. I mean, it's very versatile. It's super cool. This is the manual. Now, if you have ever owned a Godox flash, the manual's only this big, but I think I counted that 6 pages of it is in English. And out of the 6 pages, 3 of them are like charts. You know, from this distance you use this f-stop, or, you know, some different things. Like, look at that chart right there. I don't know if you can see that. That's one whole page. So there's really only about 3 pages of instructions how to use this thing, which is a great indicator of how easy it is to use. You are either putting it on manual, and it's got dials back here to kind of give you a gauge of, you know, the power and the distance that you can use, and it's got an automatic setting. Now it defaults at ISO 100 at f2.8. I actually ended up kind of playing with it, just changing the f-stop to kind of match what it was putting out. That seemed to work a little bit better for me. But one thing I will say is everything that it says, those automatic settings, it says up to 4 meters. 4 meters is a little over 13 feet, so it doesn't go very far. It's not very powerful, and you're not going to be able to shoot big groups. You're going to have to stay at a pretty close proximity to your subject in order to get a decent amount of light, or a definitely quality light, out of this little tiny flash. Now, one of the things that I did read on the manual that I think is worth mentioning, because I'm watching people online talk about this flash and nobody's doing this. When you put this thing away, you fold up the metal blades like this. You have to push this light bulb back into its socket before you close the door. Now, I've always heard you should never touch a flash bulb or a flash tube with your fingers, because the oil on your fingers can get on the glass, it breaks it down, and that's a no-no. The manual actually says to push it in with gloves. Now, I don't think it's realistic to put a glove on every time you do it, so I'm just going to take my shirt, push it in, and then you can shut the door. When I first saw this light, even though I thought, that's super cool looking, I want to get one of those, I would really like to try one of those out, my initial thought is the light coming out of this thing is going to be awful. It's going to be ugly. It's going to be on-camera flash straight at you. You know, look how close it is to the lens. I mean, this is red eye for sure, is it not? I mean, I really thought this is not going to be good. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, the light coming off of this thing is not real pretty. It's directional. It's like you took a flashlight and shined it right at your subject. So what I have found, and I'm going to try to show a bunch of examples as I'm talking here, what I have found is it makes a better fill light than it does a main light. If this light is your main light, it's not going to be very attractive. If it's a fill light, just filling in some shadows and stuff, it seems to work really, really well. And as a stock photographer, I walked around the other day at this apple orchard thing that we went to, took a bunch of pictures of apples, and they had a cornfield and stuff. It was kind of nice to do some fill in of the shadows, and it worked really well for that. But as a main light, the light is kind of ugly, so if your hope is that it's going to produce a lot of pretty light, it's probably not going to happen. So as I'm walking around using this flash thinking, this is so much fun to use, but at the same time, it's not the most pretty light. I mean, I've heard other people talk on their channels about how it produces ugly light, and, you know, they're kind of right about that. It's not super attractive, but it's so much fun to use. I got to thinking about the whole vintage feel that it has, and I actually pulled out this camera. This was my grandmother's camera that somehow got passed down to me. I mean, it's very similar, and it's got this vintage feel to it. But I thought, how about if I were to use that vintage straight-on light and did a photo shoot that matched that type of lighting? So I think if you did that kind of thing, whether it be a fashion shoot with kind of a 60s or 70s feel to it, that light might be the appropriate lighting. So even though it doesn't seem like attractive lighting initially, if you use it for the right thing, I think it could be great. Now, would I consider this a pro-level flash? No, not really. But with a little bit of knowledge and a little bit of practice, I think you can do some neat things with this light. Like I said, use it for a vintage looking fashion shoot, or, you know, use it for that kind of party looking feel that they used to do back in the 50s or 60s or whatever. But at the same time, I think it works really well if you're just using it for a fill light. Like I said, set your camera for the ambient. Use this just to kind of fill in the shadows and give it a little bit of pop, and not, you know, not so dark, and, you know, control those ratios. It works really well for that. Now, would I shoot it at a wedding? Yeah, I think I'm going to try to take it to a wedding and see how it goes. But partly, I'll be honest with you, partly I want to see what people think of it, as much as I want to use it at a wedding. But speaking of events and, you know, weddings and like an actual job, one of the drawbacks, which is a pro and a con, it actually has its own built-in battery. You don't have to put AA's in it. You actually can charge the battery. However, the battery is not removable. So when the battery goes dead, the flash is dead until you charge it. So if you have it at a wedding or an event and the battery goes dead, you can't just pop the battery out, stick a new one in, and keep going. You would have to have two of these flashes, so when one goes dead, you can put the other one on and keep going. So it's nice that you're not having to buy AA batteries. That part I love, but like I said, you can't pull it out of there. Once it's dead, it's dead. You got to charge the battery. And from what I saw the other day when I pulled it out of the box, I was in the 25 to 50% charged range. There's a way, the way it blinks, you can tell that. And it probably took it an hour and a half to go from that 25 to 50 all the way to 100%. So it doesn't charge super fast. But it is what it is. I wouldn't go to a wedding counting on it being my only flash. I would probably just do it as kind of a secondary, complementary thing to the other things I was doing. But when I get to an event, to a wedding, and use it, I will let you know how it goes. Okay guys, that's it for me today. Short, quick, just a little introduction to this new flash I got and my initial thoughts of it. I will be talking about it more, I promise you, because it is a lot of fun to use. So I'm going to be implementing it and just going out and having some fun with it. We'll do some different things. If there's anything you'd like to see me do with it or have questions about the flash, let me know and leave me a comment. If you haven't subscribed, now's your chance to do that. Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. And as always, if you give me a thumbs down, let me know what you didn't like or what I missed or forgot or I don't know, whatever. But you guys have a great day, and I will see you guys very soon. We got a lot going on around here, and hopefully I will get these videos to you ASAP. Have a great day, guys.
That one went left.